If you've ever felt like a woman slowly stopped respecting you, and you couldn't explain when it started, this video is about you. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Women don't accidentally walk all over men. They only do it when a man never set boundaries early enough to stop it. In the first stages of dating, there are 5 boundaries that determine whether she sees you as a man she respects or a man she slowly takes for granted. Miss even one, and you'll spend months confused, overgiving, and wondering why the dynamic flipped. This isn't about being harsh. It's not about playing games. And it's definitely not about controlling women. It's about understanding the exact moments where men unknowingly give away leverage and how to stop doing that before attraction turns into tolerance. If you don't learn these 5 boundaries early, you won't just lose her respect. You'll lose yourself trying to get it back. Most dating advice teaches men how to react. This video teaches you how to position yourself so you don't have to react at all. The difference isn't confidence or charisma, it's structure. Boundaries create structure. And structure determines who leads the dynamic and who adapts to it. If you're ready to shift from guessing to understanding, like the video and subscribe now, because once you see how these dynamics actually form, you stop chasing outcomes and start controlling your own position. And that shift begins with the very first boundary most men ignore. Let's break that open. Number 1, never open financial access before she's earned it. Men confuse sharing with bonding. You think talking about money is just conversation. You think you're being transparent, relaxed, authentic. But that's not how it lands on the other side of the table. To a woman, early financial information is not intimacy. It's data. The moment you talk about your income, your investments, the cost of your car, the trips you're planning, something subtle but irreversible happens. You stop being a man she's discovering, and you start being a man she's measuring. Not emotionally, practically. This is what I call the provider audition. She hasn't chosen you yet. She hasn't committed. She hasn't invested. But you're already standing on stage proving your usefulness. And the dangerous part is that you usually don't even notice it happening. You mention your salary casually. You joke about a bonus. You talk about how much you've saved this year. You think you're just making conversation. But in her mind, a quiet assessment begins. Stability, capacity, access. From that point on, attraction stops being emotional and starts becoming evaluative. Here's the truth most men don't want to hear. Once a woman starts evaluating your wallet, she stops feeling you. Curiosity turns into calculation. Tension turns into expectation. And no, she doesn't need to ask you for money for this shift to happen. All she has to do is observe how freely you expose it. How eager you are to signal that you can provide, how quickly you turn your financial life into proof of worth. Men do this because they were taught that providing equals value, that security equals desirability. But early on, provision doesn't create attraction. It replaces it. You're no longer the man she wants. You're the man she's seeing what she can get from. That's why this boundary matters. So early, because once the frame changes, you don't get it back. You can't talk your way out of being evaluated. You can't charm your way back into mystery. The moment she starts evaluating your wallet, attraction stops being emotional. It becomes transactional. When you step in too early and start solving her financial problems, something critical shifts, and it's not in your favor. You don't become her partner. You become her support system. That's the role downgrade most men never see coming. The moment you say, "I got you," before there's commitment, you silently volunteer for responsibility without authority. You give provision without position. And once that happens, the dynamic hardens. She may appreciate you, but appreciation is not desire. Gratitude is not attraction. This is where the financial tests begin. They're subtle. She mentions how tight things have been lately, a bill she's stressed about, a car issue that's expensive to fix. She's not asking outright. She's watching. She's watching how quickly you move. She's watching if you feel compelled to rescue. She's watching whether your boundaries collapse the moment pressure appears. Most men fail here because they confuse generosity with leadership. They rush in thinking it proves value. In reality, it proves predictability. And predictable men are easy to place into utility roles. The correct boundary doesn't require speeches or defensiveness. You don't justify. You don't over-explain. You don't apologize. You stay calm. You stay grounded. You close the door without slamming it. Something simple, supportive, but firm. No offer, no guilt, no entanglement. And here's the part that surprises men. A woman who is genuinely interested will respect this immediately. Not because she's testing you less, but because she feels safer with a man who protects his structure. A woman with unclear intentions will feel irritated. She may pull back. She may lose interest. That's not a loss. That's filtration. This boundary doesn't push women away. It filters out the ones who were never there for you, only for what you could provide. Leadership begins where access is controlled. Number 2, never tolerate disrespect, especially when it's subtle. Most men think disrespect looks loud, raised voices, insults, obvious hostility. That's why they miss it when it actually matters. Because real disrespect doesn't announce itself. It sneaks in quietly and waits to see if you'll stop it. It shows up when she interrupts you mid-sentence and keeps talking. When she makes a passive joke at your expense and follows it with, "Relax, I'm just teasing." When she casually compares you to her ex. When she ignores your messages for hours, but expects instant replies from you. None of these moments feel big enough to confront, and that's exactly why they work. From a psychological standpoint, this isn't cruelty, it's evaluation. She's asking one silent question. Can I get away with this? Women test boundaries the same way water tests cracks, slowly, incrementally. One small push at a time. If nothing pushes back, the pressure increases. Here's a scenario most men recognize but rarely address. You're out with her and a few friends. Everyone's laughing, talking. Then someone asks how things are going between you two. She smirks and says something like, "He's fine." When he's not being clueless, her friends laugh. She laughs too. You smile. You tell yourself it's harmless, that she didn't mean it like that, but something just happened. She lowered your status in public. She used you as a moment of entertainment, and more importantly, she watched what you did next. Disrespect tests aren't about the comment, they're about your response or lack of one. When you let it slide, you're not being easygoing. You're signaling that your self-respect is negotiable. That comfort matters more to you than boundaries. And once a woman realizes she can step over you without consequence, she will. Not because she's malicious, but because you showed her the line doesn't exist. Silence is not composure. Silence is consent. That's the mistake men make when they convince themselves that staying quiet makes them look calm, mature, unbothered. In reality, what you're communicating is much simpler and much more damaging. You're telling her that this behavior is allowed. When you don't respond to subtle disrespect, you don't freeze the moment. You set a precedent, and precedents compound. One small pass turns into another, then another, until the dynamic has shifted so far that fixing it feels impossible. Here's the chain reaction most men never anticipate. When she disrespects you publicly and you let it slide, her friends notice. They don't see you as easygoing. They see you as the man who doesn't stand up for himself. Their perception changes first, then hers follows. Because once a woman sees that you'll tolerate being diminished in front of others, she learns she can do it privately too. The tone shifts. The effort drops. The attraction erodes us, not overnight, but permanently. High-value men don't respond to disrespect with explosions or sarcasm. They don't embarrass her back. They don't turn it into drama. They respond immediately, calmly, directly. One short sentence, no edge, no explanation. No emotional charge, just a clear line drawn in the sand. That response does something powerful. It resets the frame. It tells her and everyone watching that you respect yourself enough to stop the moment it crosses a line. This isn't about controlling her behavior. It's about enforcing your standards. Because respect is not negotiated through patience. It's not earned by endurance, and it's not preserved by silence. Respect is enforced. Number 3, never make your time freely available just because you like her. This is where most men sabotage themselves before the relationship even has a chance to form. You think availability shows interest. You think saying yes quickly proves enthusiasm. You think rearranging your schedule makes you look invested. From her side, it looks very different. When a man is always available, it doesn't signal desire. It signals a lack of structure. And women don't evaluate men in isolation. They evaluate the life that surrounds him. Here's the pattern. You meet a woman you're excited about. The chemistry feels good. The attention feels promising. And because you don't want to miss your opportunity, you start doing something subtle but destructive. You cancel plans. You move commitments. You stay flexible just in case. She texts. Dinner with friends disappears. Gym sessions get skipped. Your schedule becomes reactive instead of intentional. Not because you're irresponsible, but because you're afraid of losing momentum. That fear is what she feels. From a psychological perspective, a woman isn't just asking, "Does he like me?" She's asking, "Does this man have a life that can hold me without collapsing?" When your time becomes an open buffet, she doesn't feel chosen. She feels prioritized at the expense of everything else. And paradoxically, that lowers attraction. Men believe scarcity pushes women away. In reality, the absence of structure pushes them away faster. A man who drops everything the moment she appears doesn't look committed. He looks unanchored. And women don't trust men who have nothing anchoring them. This boundary isn't about playing hard to get. It's about protecting the foundation of your life, because when your time loses value, you do too. A man who treats his time like currency is always in demand. Not because he's unavailable, not because he's playing games, but because his life already has direction before she ever steps into it. When you protect your schedule, something powerful happens in her mind. She stops seeing you as an option she can summon and starts seeing you as a man she has to meet halfway. Time creates anticipation when it's not on demand. That's the part most men misunderstand. They think saying no kills momentum. In reality, it sharpens it. When you don't jump every time she reaches out, you signal self-control. And self-control is one of the strongest indicators of maturity. Here's what this looks like in real life. She texts late. She wants to see you spontaneously. But you have an early morning, a workout, a commitment you already made. The low V-value move is to abandon your plans and rush over hoping it proves interest. The grounded move is simple. Calm. No explanation spiral. You acknowledge her, but you don't rearrange your life to accommodate an impulse. That response does two things at once. It shows that your time matters, and it makes the time you do give her feel intentional, not convenient. There's an important distinction here. Being busy isn't attractive. Purpose is. A man with purpose doesn't need to fake scarcity. His schedule reflects priorities. His life has momentum. And women feel that difference immediately. When your time is protected, attraction has space to grow. When your time is unlimited, attraction suffocates. You don't win by being constantly present. You win by being consistently grounded. Number 4, never become her emotional dumping ground before she commits. This is one of the most seductive traps men fall into because it disguises itself as connection. She opens up early, talks about her ex, the trauma, the chaos, family drama, how every man before you hurt her. She cries on the phone, tells you she's never felt this understood, and you think, this must mean something. It feels intimate, it feels special, it feels like you're different. But emotional dumping is not intimacy, it's recruitment. What's actually happening is simple. She's testing how much emotional labor you're willing to carry before she gives you anything real in return. And most men volunteer without realizing the cost. You listen for hours. You reassure. You stay up late calming her down. You give advice. You absorb her emotional weight. You become steady, reliable, safe, and slowly, quietly the frame shifts. You're no longer the man she desires. You're the man she stabilizes herself with. Here's the part that hurts the most. Men mistake emotional access for emotional bonding. They think, she trusts me. What they don't see is that trust without investment doesn't create attraction. It creates utility. She leans on you, then turns around and gives her excitement, her curiosity, her unpredictability to someone else. Not because you did something wrong, but because you stepped into the role of therapist instead of partner. Masculine polarity dies the moment you become her emotional container too early. Mystery fades, tension dissolves, desire flattens, and you can't argue your way out of that position. Once you're emotionally categorized as the safe one, it sticks. This boundary isn't about being cold, it's about pacing intimacy. Because when you carry her emotional weight before she chooses you, you're giving away your strongest leverage. Emotional closeness is powerful, but only when it's mutual, only when it's earned. Emotional intimacy is currency, and like any currency, it loses value when it's handed out without investment. Here's the distinction most men never learn. You can be present without being responsible. You can listen without carrying. You can care without collapsing into her emotional world. The mistake isn't empathy. The mistake is overextension. When you rush to absorb her pain, fix her wounds, and stabilize her emotions before there's commitment, you reverse the natural flow of bonding. She doesn't grow closer to the man who carries her. She grows closer to the man she invests in. That's how emotional attachment actually forms. Healthy emotional pacing looks different. You listen, you acknowledge, you stay grounded, but you don't dive into problem-solving mode. You don't become the late-night crisis line. You don't let her emotional storms dictate your availability or identity. This boundary protects masculine polarity. Polarity exists when there's tension, space, and mutual effort. It dies when one person becomes the emotional anchor while the other drifts freely. Men often think pulling back emotionally makes them seem uncaring. In reality, it makes the connection cleaner. It invites reciprocity. It gives her the opportunity to step forward emotionally instead of leaning back into you. And that's the key shift. A woman bonds with the man she invests in emotionally, not the one who carries her emotional weight for free. When she has to show up, when she has to contribute, when she has to regulate herself, attraction deepens naturally. This boundary doesn't block intimacy. It preserves it, because intimacy that isn't earned doesn't build desire, it builds dependence. And dependence is the opposite of attraction. Number 5. Never panic when she pulls back. This is the moment where most men undo everything they did right before. Things were good. The energy was there. The connection felt mutual. Then something shifts. Her replies slow down. The warmth fades. The effort drops. And instead of staying grounded, you panic. That panic is instinctive. You feel the distance and assume something is wrong. Maybe she's stressed. Maybe you said something wrong. Maybe there's someone else. And without realizing it, you start doing the one thing guaranteed to kill attraction. You try harder while she does less. It usually unfolds in three predictable mistakes. First, you fill the silence. She creates space and you rush to close it. More messages, faster replies, extra check-ins. What you're really saying is, I'm uncomfortable without your attention. Second, you try to reassure her. You offer emotional availability on demand. You let her know you're there for anything. Every word quietly communicates fear. Fear of losing her, fear of the connection slipping away. Third, you overcompensate. You plan more, compliment more, give more. You turn the volume up hoping effort will restore what distance removed. But attraction doesn't work that way. From a power dynamic perspective, the moment you increase effort in response to withdrawal, the balance shifts. She holds the frame. You chase it. And once that imbalance locks in, desire suffocates. A woman cannot miss a man who is constantly trying to close the gap. She can only miss what has space to disappear. Pulling back is not always a test. Sometimes it's clarity forming. Sometimes it's interest fading. And sometimes it's simply life. But panic turns every possibility into the same outcome. Loss of leverage, loss of attraction, loss of self-respect. Attraction never returns because you try harder. It returns when there's absence. That's the paradox most men resist, because it feels counterintuitive. You were taught that effort fixes problems, that persistence proves value, that if you just show up more, love will stabilize. But romantic attraction doesn't respond to effort, it responds to space. When you stop rewarding distance with increased attention, one of two things happens, and both outcomes work in your favor. If she's genuinely interested, she recalibrates. She notices the absence. The imbalance corrects itself. Her effort rises to meet yours. Consistency returns, not because you chased it, but because you gave it room to surface. If she doesn't come back, then the truth was already there. Your boundary didn't cause the loss. It revealed it faster. This is where men get stuck emotionally. They think if I pull back, I'll lose her. What they don't see is that they were already losing themselves trying to keep her close. Never reward distance with effort. Effort given in response to withdrawal trains imbalance. It teaches her that she can reduce investment while you increase it. And once that lesson is learned, attraction doesn't recover. Absence does something effort never can. It restores polarity. It returns control to your side of the equation. It reminds her that access to you is not guaranteed. And if she chooses not to step forward when space is created, then you didn't lose a woman who wanted you. You stopped chasing an illusion that required you to abandon your grounding. That's the quiet power of this boundary. It doesn't manipulate outcomes. It clarifies them. You didn't lose her. You stopped chasing what was never fully yours. What you've just learned isn't a collection of dating tips. It's a system. 5 boundaries, 1 framework, 1 purpose, protecting your value before someone else decides what it's worth. These boundaries are not about controlling women. They're not about manipulation, and they're definitely not about turning cold or disconnected. They exist for one reason only: to keep you from losing yourself while trying to keep someone else. When you control financial access, you protect leverage. When you shut down disrespect early, you protect dignity. When you guard your time, you protect direction. When you pace emotional intimacy, you protect polarity. When you stop chasing withdrawal, you protect self-respect. Together they form a filter. Women who are drawn to structure, strength, and self-control will feel safer with you. Women who were only comfortable when you were overgiving, over-available, and over-invested will quietly disappear. That's not loneliness, that's clarity. Boundaries don't make you harder to love. They make it possible for the right person to love you without you shrinking to earn it. They ensure that when a woman chooses you, she's choosing the man you actually are, not the version that sacrifices himself to be tolerated. And if there's one truth I want you to walk away with, it's this: you don't gain power by demanding more from women. You gain power by requiring more from yourself. If this resonated, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe. Stay here. This channel exists for men who are done being confused, drained, and second-guessing their worth. Like the video. Share it with the man who keeps giving too much and getting less. And leave a comment. Tell me which boundary hit you the hardest. This channel isn't here to comfort you. It's here to keep you from losing yourself.